All right, everyone, buckle up. We're diving into the world of kettlebells today.
Those cannonball with a handle things, right?
You got it, but we're going way beyond just like what they are, though we'll cover that too.
You guys sent in some awesome articles, even a full-on YouTube workout.
Yeah, this is serious deep dive material, so we'll really unpack why this whole kettlebell thing, which actually has roots back in 18th century Russia, is blowing up in the fitness world right now.
And why it's not just a fad. Kettlebells have some really unique benefits you might not expect.
I'll admit, when I think workout, like improved glucose tolerance isn't my first thought.
Right. Not exactly the sexiest benefit.
But it's right here in this Healthline article. That's huge for anyone worried about diabetes, and it goes even deeper than that.
That's the thing about kettlebells. They work your body in a different way than, say, just hitting the weight machines at the gym.
It's not just about getting ripped, though. You definitely can. It's about overall health, even as we age, which I'm all about.
Absolutely. Things like restoring muscle mass, improving grip strength, those are crucial as we get older.
Seriously, think about how much you use your grip strength every single day.
We take it for granted until it's gone, right? And that's where these dynamic compound movements kettlebells use really shine. You're working multiple muscle groups at once. It's like a full-body symphony.
Speaking of symphony, maybe heavy metal concert is more accurate. We found this YouTube channel, Lebby Stark, and this guy, he is jacked.
Yeah, he's not messing around.
He's got some intense workouts, and the way he moves with the kettlebells, it's almost like a dance, but clearly a tough one.
It's controlled power, which is a big part of what makes kettlebell training so effective.
So let's break down some of these exercises, both from the article and the video, because some of them, whoa, I'm intimidated just watching.
We'll start with a classic, the deadlift.
Yeah.
It's a staple for a reason, works your glutes, quads, back, all in one go. But form is everything here.
Yeah, one wrong move and you can really hurt yourself.
Exactly. A rounded back is a recipe for disaster.
So picture this. You're picking the kettlebell up off the floor. What are the key things to keep in mind?
Imagine a string pulling you up from the top of your head. That's how you want to maintain that straight back.
Got it. So no hunching over.
Right. Engage your core. Think of it as your built-in weightlifting belt and focus on driving through your hips, not lifting with your back.
Yeah.
That's how you avoid turning a great exercise into a back injury.
Okay, so we've mastered the deadlift, no back injuries. Good.
Hopefully not. Safety first, always.
Exactly. Now on to another exercise that seems to be synonymous with kettlebells, the swing. What makes this one so special?
So unlike the deadlift, which is a pretty static move, the swing, it's all about generating power.
Yeah, watching that YouTuber, it's almost like he's dancing with the weight, but like a really intense dance.
You got it. It's controlled momentum. It's a hip hinge, not a squat. You're hiking that kettlebell back between your legs.
Like imagine you're hiking a football, but instead of throwing it, you're swinging it forward.
Exactly. And that swing comes from driving through your hips, not your arms. That's where the power comes from.
So it's not about arm strength, it's about engaging those posterior chain muscles, the glutes, the hamstrings.
All of that, plus your core is working overtime to stabilize you. It's a true full-body exercise disguised as a simple swing.
I can see why it's a favorite. Okay, next up we've got goblet squats. Now, I'm familiar with squats, but the goblet part is throwing me off.
Think of it this way. You're holding the kettlebell close to your chest, like a goblet, hence the name.
Oh, I see.
This variation adds an element of counterbalance, which really challenges your core.
And we know how important core strength is for, well, pretty much everything.
Absolutely. A strong core means better posture, less risk of injury, and even improved performance in other exercises.
Got it. Core strength is key. Now, we've got lunges on the list, and, well, lunges are lunges, right?
Sure, but add a kettlebell, and suddenly they're a whole lot more fun.
Fun might not be the word I'd use, but definitely more challenging.
That's the spirit. Seriously, though, that extra weight adds an instability factor that forces your stabilizing muscles to work harder.
So it's like lunges on steroids, but without the, actual steroids.
Exactly. And because you're typically doing them one leg at a time, it really helps with balance and coordination.
Okay, so we're building strength, balance, coordination, all while working on those often neglected stabilizer muscles efficiency. Now, tell me about this Russian twist. Sounds kind of intimidating.
It's not as scary as it sounds. Basically, you're sitting with your feet off the ground, holding the kettlebell out in front of you, and twisting your torso from side to side.
Sounds simple enough, but I bet it's harder than it looks.
It's all about controlling the movement and engaging those oblique muscles, those muscles on the sides of your abs.
So it's a recipe for a strong, sculpted midsection. I like it.
And it's a nice break from traditional crunches or sit-ups.
Speaking of variations on a theme, kettlebell push-ups, That sounds next level.
They definitely add a challenge.
Mhm.
Instead of placing your hands flat on the floor, you grip the kettlebell handles.
Which I imagine makes everything a lot less stable.
Exactly. And that instability forces your muscles to work harder to maintain balance and control.
So we're taking a classic exercise and cranking up the intensity.
Precisely. And finally, we have the kettlebell shoulder press, a fantastic exercise for building, you guessed it, shoulder strength.
That's pretty self-explanatory.
It is, but don't let that fool you. It's a great exercise.
Yeah.
And because you're holding that off-centered weight, your core has to work extra hard to keep you stable.
Again, with that core engagement, it's like the magic ingredient to a strong and functional body.
It really is. Now, on top of those essential exercises, that YouTuber we mentioned, he had a few bonus moves up his sleeve.
Yeah, he called them his most bang for your buck exercises, right? I'm all about efficiency, so I was definitely intrigued.
One that stood out was the clean and press. It's a two-part movement.
Two parts, so it's like a compound exercise within a compound exercise.
Exactly. First, you clean the kettlebell, bringing it from the floor up to your shoulder in one swift movement.
Sounds like that could go wrong pretty quickly if you don't know what you're doing.
It definitely takes practice and coordination, which is why it's not usually recommended for beginners. Then, once the kettlebell is at your shoulder, you press it overhead.
Okay, so it's combining two already challenging moves into one super move.
Right, and it works your entire body, from your legs and core to your shoulders and arms.
Wow, talk about a full body workout. So, with all of these amazing exercises, where do we even start? How do we choose the right kettlebell workout for our fitness level?
That's a great question. It's important to remember that kettlebell training isn't one size fits all. The American Council on Exercise, ACE, has some good guidelines for choosing the right weight. They recommend that men new to kettlebells start with 15-25 pounds, and women start with 8-15 pounds.
Okay, so starting light is key. What about the number of reps and sets?
That's where things get a bit more personalized. It's not just about the numbers. It's about finding a weight that challenges you without compromising your form.
Right, because if you're swinging a weight that's too heavy, your form is going to go out the window.
Exactly, and that's a recipe for injury. Start with a weight where you can comfortably maintain good form for, say, 10-15 reps. As you get stronger, you can gradually increase the weight or reps.
So it's about listening to your body, not just blindly following some arbitrary number.
Exactly. Quality over quantity, always. Speaking of listening to your body, we can't talk about kettlebells without talking about safety.
Right, because as much as we love a good workout, we also love, not getting hurt.
Exactly. And with kettlebells, there are some inherent risks, just like any exercise. We've talked about the importance of proper form, especially with those deadlifts and swings.
And I think we can all agree, dropping a kettlebell on your foot is not a good time.
Definitely not. So stable shoes are key, and make sure you have plenty of clear space around you. But beyond the physical, don't underestimate the mental aspect of safety.
What do you mean by that? Like staying focused?
Exactly. Kettlebell training requires focus. You're dealing with momentum, dynamic movements. If your head's not in the game, that's when accidents happen.
So it's not just about powering through, it's about being present, paying attention to what you're doing.
Right, because your body will tell you if something's off. Those little aches, those twinges, those are signals.
So it's a two-way conversation with your body. You push it, but you also listen to it.
Exactly. Knowing when to push and when to rest, that's all part of staying safe and getting the most out of your workouts.
This has been awesome. We've covered the what, the why, the how, and the be careful of kettlebell training.
The essentials.
Exactly. So any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are now hopefully fired up to give this a try?
For me, it's the efficiency. You can get an incredible full-body workout in a fraction of the time it might take with traditional weightlifting.
Perfect for our busy lives, right? And I gotta say, after seeing those kettlebell swings in action, there's something almost addictive about that movement.
It's empowering, isn't it?
Totally. Now, before we wrap things up, I can't stop thinking about that comparison the YouTuber made, kettlebell training as a wrestling match. It just makes you think about fitness in a different way.
It's not just about building a certain physique, it's about engaging your whole self, body, and mind.
It's dynamic, it's challenging, and it's a good reminder that we're capable of more than we might realize, both physically and mentally. Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our kettlebell deep dive. Until next time, everyone, happy lifting, and remember, form first.